Welcome to the Hypostasis Department. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here for this explainer. Look, what we're about to dive into isn't your standard, dry academic orientation. Not at all. Think of this as your entry into a visionary, cross-domain environment. It's designed to reveal the essential nature of reality right beneath everyday appearances. We're going to explore how you can find your roots across literally all domains of knowledge through this living synthesis of structure and beauty. And our primary tool for this? Well, it's understanding the architecture of the self. Here's our curriculum map for the journey today. We've got 1. The hypostasis threshold. 2. The mandala of the seasons. 3. Level 1. Partner. 4. Level 2. Collaborate. 5. Level 3. Polarize. And finally, 6. Level 4. Unified whole. Okay, let's dive right into Section 1. The hypostasis threshold, learning through living. So to really get this curriculum, we first have to understand where the actual work takes place. Because, spoiler alert, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. Your journey starts right here on the G floor, or the ground floor. This is the absolute threshold of our department, where abstract theory smacks right into the real world. We operate on this learning through living logic. In these community-facing operations, whether you're running a community hub or maybe a collaborative project, you aren't just going to sit back and study your archetype conceptually. No way. You are going to truly experience it. You'll see firsthand how your leading part carries the most influence, stepping up to take charge in your daily interactions, while your trailing part kind of quietly seeks its voice. Moving right along to Section 2, Mandala of the Seasons, the Blueprint of Self. Now, what's really interesting about this is how we make sense of those leading and trailing parts. We use the metaphor of the seasons. Basically, every part of the self is defined by where it sits across 3 distinct hemispherical axes: consolidating versus radiating, governing versus executing, and internalizing versus externalizing. Let's take winter, for example. We call winter the healer. Winter is consolidating, governing, and internalizing. Think about the deep stillness of winter. The healer holds the heavy weight of context and gently guides the whole system back toward wholeness. Now compare that to summer, the curator. Summer is totally different. It's radiating, governing, and externalizing. It's all about practicing the art of arrangement, taking invisible structures and making them visible and navigable for everyone else. Let's look at the other 2 seasons to really vividly see how these opposing forces play out as distinct behaviors. On one hand, we have spring, the pioneer. Spring brings radiating, executing, and internalizing energy. It's exactly like those first little buds breaking through the tough spring soil. The pioneer gives us that forward momentum, always seeking the new, the unmapped. On the flip side, we contrast this with autumn, the auditor. Autumn is consolidating, executing, and externalizing. When the year turns toward the harvest, the auditor acts as a grounding rod. It maintains coherence by pruning away the excess and safely archiving the past. And here's the kicker. Rather than choosing just one of these fields to study, you're going to learn to navigate this entire continuous cycle of discovery, arrangement, pruning, and integration. So, you might be wondering, if the self has 4 parts, how many different ways can they actually be arranged? The math here is pretty elegant. 4 times 3 times 2 times 1 gives us exactly 24 unique archetype configurations. And hey, don't worry, I promise that is literally all the math you'll have to do today. Looking at this foundational blueprint, you can see that each of those 24 archetypes is a complete weighting of all 4 parts, meaning you aren't just spring or just winter. You are all of them. Your leading part simply carries the most weight, mapping a very specific path through the geometry. That is your foundation. All right, let's move to Section 3, Level 1, Partner, the Mirror. Let's see how this builds. Now that we've got our 24 single configurations, here's the complete developmental arc you are about to conquer. We go from partner, to collaborate, to polarize, and finally, to unify. Remember, the total of our system is always 24. What actually changes is simply how that 24 is held together. Let's look really closely at Level 1. Right here at Level 1, you're paired up with what we call a stable partner. Every archetype produces a mathematical vector across those 3 axes we just talked about. Your stable partner is simply the archetype whose vector is your exact opposite, meaning when you put the 2 of you together, you perfectly sum to 0 across all 3 axes. So why does this matter? Well, in this dyad, your partner acts as a literal mirror. While one of you is learning to do something, the other is actually learning to do it less. Your overcorrections are super visible to them, and theirs are glaringly obvious to you. Through recognizing this, you don't become dependent. Actually, scratch that. It's more like you both self-correct toward the center. And once you hit that sweet spot of balance, the boundary between what you were doing separately just naturally begins to dissolve. Which brings us to Section 4. Level 2. Collaborate, holding the axis. As soon as that boundary dissolves, the architectural blueprint expands. The 12 pairs from Level 1 now group themselves into 3 larger collectives, each with 4 pairs. How do they find each other? It's pretty cool. They group based on the specific axis they've already balanced to 0. So, for example, all the pairs who have successfully balanced their consolidating and radiating axis group up. They form these new paths of collaboration, literally linking the geometry together. So, the crucial point to take away here is this. In Level 2, the unit is no longer a single archetype. And it's not just a pair anymore either. It's a full-blown collaboration holding an entire hemispherical axis in motion. And listen, the self does not shrink during this process. You don't lose an ounce of who you are. Instead, you're just learning to hold way more complexity. Onward to Section 5, Level 3, Polarize, establishing independence. As we get better at holding all that complexity, those 3 axis groups resolve into 2 distinct collectives of 12. Now, I know the word polarize gets a pretty bad rap out there in the real world, but not in here. These 2 poles are absolutely not opposed enemies. They are highly unified, coherent peers. Each collective holds its full complexity without needing the other side to balance it out. This right here is where true independence is established. Both sides have earned their coherence through the exact same developmental path, and they recognize each other as total equals before they move on to the final stage. And that brings us to Section 6, Level 4, Unified Whole, reconciling the world. We have arrived at the final destination, the ultimate goal of the Hypostasis Department. The final state is simply 1. But crucially, it is 1 holding all 24. And this isn't achieved through some kind of corporate merger or by losing your identity, and it definitely isn't achieved through dominance. It is 1 beautifully coherent motion, where all 4 parts of the self, developed through every single level we just went through, operate together completely as 1. And this brilliantly illustrates the underlying philosophy of the entire curriculum. The total is always 24. The self never, ever shrinks. You just learn to hold more. Nothing is lost along the way. Everything you picked up at the foundation, as a partner, in collaboration, and through polarization remains fully present in this unified whole. Ultimately, this is exactly what it means to do the hard work of reconciling the world. So, as we wrap up this explainer and you get ready to cross the threshold out into the real world, I want to leave you with a question to chew on. Which part of your archetype is going to lead as you step onto the G floor today? Is it going to be the pioneering spring, the curating summer, the auditing autumn, or maybe the healing winter? The system is waiting for your unique configuration. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey, and really, enjoy the work ahead.